Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TalkShow by Quadrant Knowledge Solutions. So, today we are going to discuss a very important topic. Isn't automation enough? Like we know, process automation inside enterprise environments is becoming more popular than ever. Automation is business imperative. Over 92% of IT professionals describe process automation as a vital to digital transformation. Many organizations strive to automate their processes as much as possible. So, Apoorva, while the goal is very ambitious, there is a gap that holds organizations back. So, could you clear the air around the gap?
I think it's a gap that is permeating since the time automation was actually induced in any of the core services, for example, the banking, insurance, or even the healthcare sector. So what happens is the processes are often automated, yes, but which are these processes? These are local processes, right? And they are operated within a single software system or a device, right? Automating processes is theoretically a very easy topic to discuss. It's on a thought level, it's very easy, right? Something like as simple as, okay, if a task has been executed by a consumer in a bank, say he or she has withdrawn money, get the entry from the system to the database, right? It's pretty simple. But even as simple as a task as that, it actually requires quite a lot of hard work from the technology side, right? I'll give you a small example, right? We are living in the era of Myntra, Nykaa, Amazon, and whatnot, right? And it's been 10 years since Amazon arrived in India. Suppose I want to undertake renovation in my bathroom, and for that I have a piece of furniture. I find it on a website online, which is attached to a retail store site. So it's not an e-commerce website. It's some kind of a retail store out there, maybe 10 kilometers down the area. I'm lazy. I don't want to go there. So I check it out on the website. I find that piece of furniture there. It tells me that it's available. So I book it. I pay for it, whatever. And I want to have an own delivery. So I want to reach there. I want to take the delivery in my own hands after verifying the authenticity of the product. It's pretty simple, right? Something that anyone could be doing. Now the problem is, imagine what happens if, yes, the system tells me that there is an availability, but actually there is a lag between the system and the retailer corresponding to each other, right? So basically, there is a non-availability at the retailer's end, right, and there is a time which the retailer takes to connect this or communicate this back to the system, right? So in my opinion, I feel that the booking has been done. And but I'm still confused because I don't get any email or an SMS response saying that, okay, you could get this delivered, or you could come here to get it delivered from us at around, say, tomorrow evening 5. I'm confused. I call them and they tell me that, okay, maybe you have a 2-day waiting period, right? As a customer experience, it's a very frustrating thing for me, right? And in today's day and age, we don't want to see such kind of fallacies. But these things do happen. And why do they happen? Because there is a complex set of people, processes, and systems at play here. One set of processes involves around me interacting with the system. The other one is the system interacting with a database. The third one is the retailer interacting with the system, which again interacts with the database, right? So it's not as simple as we perceive it to be. Right. You do agree, right? Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that is the entire point. So when you talk about end-to-end process automation, imagine one single process where I putting in a requisition, the retailer putting in their own stand about whether the availability is there or not. This simple process has such complexities involved. And that is the reason why I say that end-to-end process automation is not a very easy thing to achieve. So how could you achieve end-to-end process automation in this regard? And this is where process orchestration actually comes into picture. And this exactly is the significance of process orchestration, which means you can't just apply individual automation to processes because they will break unless they communicate with each other. Right. And that is the reason that if you genuinely want to have end-to-end automation, if you want to implement something like an end-to-end automation platform, the need of the hour, the urgent need of the hour, and the only need of the hour is something called as business process orchestration or implementation of BPO, right? So what process orchestration effectively does to sum this entire conversation right now is process orchestration coordinates all of these process endpoints and sometimes even ties the multiple processes together. So without process orchestration, what would happen? As I mentioned, you have a disconnected set of local tasks and automation, which leads to challenges and which leads to total chaos.
Right, very beautifully answered, Apoorva. So, in continuation with your line of thought, could you, throw some light on these specific challenges in, what is the pivotal significance which could be achieved in case these challenges could be mitigated?
That's the question that actually we all should be looking, and these are the questions which will take us towards something like an end-to-end process orchestration, right? So in continuation with my last line of thought, I think something like a broken end-to-end automation is always going to be a challenge even 5 to 10 years down the line, right? The reason for this is very simple. Like, since local automations are not integrated with one another, let's take a step back. Since local processes are not integrated with each other, since they don't communicate effectively with each other, what happens is the end-to-end process is not fully automated, like the e-commerce example or the retail commerce example that I just provided, which takes us to the more fundamental of a question, that understanding of the entire business process and understanding of how processes are interacting with each other, or understanding of individual processes. There is a severe lack of understanding of these processes as well, and the key metrics that are involved with them as well, right? Third point, there is a severe lack of flexibility, right? What we mean is that these processes now, I could put up a requisition. There could be a delay from the retailer side. I could again try to contact the retailer directly over call. That should get stored in the system, or I could directly put up a requisition online. That should again get stored and get verified by the retailer. What I mean to say is, these processes, depending on execution of one process, there would be a dynamic process which would adhere to that. And there is no static way of saying that, okay, this process, agar ye hoti hai, then after this process, there would be this process. There is a total dynamic nature of these processes that are involved, and no one can predict it. True. But the system needs to predict it. The implementers of process orchestration, they need to predict it real time. And that is why there is a lack of flexibility, which should be mitigated by bringing in technologies which would make it easier for the flexibility to happen, right? So that was another point. Ultimately, what we are saying here is, it's critical to overcome these challenges in order to increase the degree of automation, right? It may seem like automating a series of tasks is a challenge, and yes, it is. But I feel with the right understanding of the processes, with the right understanding of how the people are interacting with the processes, and with the right understanding of the dynamic nature in which these processes or the series of processes that change, I think it's still manageable, in my opinion. It's also important to understand which processes are getting triggered after which, and the sequence of these processes. If the study of these processes is undertaken in a very fine-tuned manner, I think organizations can definitely move towards something like a business process orchestration. I would also like to conclude by saying that as consumerization increases, every 1 or 2 year, the customer service industry or the customer experience industry is growing by leaps and bounds. Obviously, the expectation of the consumers are increasing, and so to mitigate them or to adhere to them, organizations, obviously, they should try to undertake some solutions. But what is happening right now is, these are quick fix solutions that are being undertaken by the organizations. So they are only focusing on automating those isolated processes, but no one is thinking about how those processes could be communicating. And because that is not happening, while the intensity of automations for isolated processes is a lot, but those processes, the chances of those processes crumbling together because those automations are not communicating with each other, that is happening more. So what we need is intelligent automation solutions, which leads to intelligent process orchestration solutions. That is the need of the hour. That is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Apoorva. I think now everyone knows the answer, whether automation is enough or not. So stay tuned for more such videos.